My mother was busy preparing for the holiday, and somehow, outwardly, the days passed peacefully. But in my mind I didn't forget for a minute my quest to find my religion. After Thanksgiving, the usual round of Christian feasts began, and I was invited by a friend to attend a gathering of university students at a local restaurant. We were a large group, and at dinner I found myself sitting next to a man from Nigeria who was working on his doctorate at the University of Pittsburgh. I was fascinated by his attire, a typical Nigerian costume, his head covered with what looked like a larger version of the Jewish headscarf. He had a kind face and a glowing smile, and we started talking about school. When it came time to order dinner, he asked if he could help him with the menu. "I can't eat pork or alcohol," he explained, and I happily agreed. After ordering our meals, I asked him why he didn't eat pork or alcohol. "Because of my religion," he replied, smiling. "And what religion is that?" I wondered aloud. "I'm a Muslim," he replied. Lights, bells, and whistles went off in my head. I realized that I had never heard of this one before. I was very eager to hear more. Having already researched and studied every belief under the sun, I knew exactly what I wanted to ask. "Please, if you don't mind, tell me what your religion's main belief is? What point would you say best describes your religion?" Without hesitation, he smiled again and said, "We believe that there is only one God. God is not part of a trinity, nor does he have a son. He has no partners. God is one." It sounded so simple. I had no problem with it. I told him it made sense to me. He smiled again. Then I asked him how his religion viewed women. What was their status in his beliefs? Having suffered as a woman in a society in which my religion provided little guidance, or respect, for women, I held my breath waiting for his answer. I so wanted to hear something that would satisfy me. Once again, he was quick to respond. "Women in Islam are equal to men. They have basically the same status and obligations as men, and they receive the same rewards and punishments. However, being equal does not mean being the same. Men and women were created different from each other. They are equal, but different." I wanted to know how the differences manifested themselves. He replied, "In marriage, for example, although the Muslim woman has many rights, perhaps more rights than a man, to be supported completely, she is also required to obey her husband." Obey her husband? What does that mean? He started laughing. It was clear that he had been through this before. "It means," he explained patiently, "that if a decision has to be made for the good of the marriage or the family, although the man should consult his wife and ask for her opinion, the final decision is his. Look at it this way, as if marriage were a ship sailing at sea. A ship can only have one captain who is ultimately responsible for its well-being. A ship with two captains will sink." He leaned back in his chair and waited for my reply. I couldn't think of any argument against what he'd said. It made sense to me. I had always felt, deep down, that the husband should have the ultimate responsibility for the family. I was satisfied, more than satisfied, in fact. The happiness slowly turned to euphoria, and I asked more and more excitedly about Islam. Everything he told me made perfect sense to me. And in the midst of the extreme joy and peace I felt, I also wondered how come I had never heard of Islam before? Subhanallah, everything happens in Allah's time. I asked how I could learn more about this religion, and he kindly offered to put me in touch with Muslims at his mosque, who could give me a Quran and answer any questions I had. He took my phone and promised to call me. I was ecstatic. I couldn't wait. It was Friday, December 3, 1982. The following Monday I was on the steps of the local library, waiting for it to open. I took out all the books on Islam which, unfortunately, at that time were few and not very accurate either, but I didn't realize that at the time. When I opened the first book, the introduction said, Islam means submission to the will of God. Incredible, there's that word, submission. Exactly the word I used myself before I knew anything about it. I only knew that complete and total submission to God's way was necessary if I wanted to achieve peace. In that instant, I knew I had found the truth. I devoured the books and waited anxiously for Ahmad, the Nigerian, to contact me again. True to his word, he did. I was given the number of the mosque and a contact name. Trembling with excitement, I dialed, praying that someone would answer. And someone did. The man who answered my call said in a heavy foreign accent that the person I was looking for wasn't in at the moment. Unfazed, I explained that I was very interested in learning more about Islam. He immediately welcomed me and gave me the address, inviting me to come and talk to him and receive a copy of the Quran. I was too excited. I made an appointment for later that day and anxiously prepared myself and my daughter for the meeting. I find it funny now to think of myself that day. I wanted to look my best. So I put on a little suit, curled my hair, put on makeup and perfume and dressed my 1-year-old daughter in her best dress. I knew we were embarking on a new life. My daughter and I, together, were a team. When I arrived and entered the building, the first person I met was a Muslim woman wearing a niqab. I thought she looked beautiful and exotically foreign. I told her I was there to meet a man called Abdul Hamid. She graciously directed me towards a staircase. You'll find him in the office at the top of the stairs, she said in perfect English, which surprised me. I had yet to learn that Islam was not a foreign religion or that it was the fastest growing religion in the world. There was so much I still didn't know. But one thing was unquestionable. I was on the right track. When I entered the office, all heads turned in my direction and then all eyes were lowered. Nobody looked me in the eye. But everyone started smiling. Warm, happy, sincere smiles.